technical stuff. I don't do any politics or sports or whatever on Twitter. So really just Oracle related technical things. Nobody's offended by my tweets, hopefully. And if you want to get in touch with me on LinkedIn, it's just LinkedIn/Mike Dietrich. That's an easy deal. So upgrade block, when you tick on slides on https://mikedietrich.de.com, then webinars 2020, you'll find the top one is the one I'm giving right now. So it's a brand new slide deck. I just changed some things today, added some stuff, and I hope everything will fly well. Let's see. So yeah, database upgrade. I mean, you know, I do database upgrades usually. And the first question before we go into multi-tenant is, to which release should you upgrade? And I put this in front because that is something people ask me, I would say every day, at least once. And let me explain something up front, which is fairly new. So first of all, we have now a distinction between innovation releases and long-term support releases. So an innovation release has only 2 years of support, bug fixing support, premier support. This is the black bar on the slide. Whereas a long-term release has 5 years, plus 3 additional years of paid extended support, or if you have a ULA with Oracle, or in some Exadata accounts, XRCC accounts, that can be included as well. Then the extended support is even included. So that means typically you will jump from long-term support release to long-term support release. The innovation releases are really meant for, let's say you are interested in blockchain tables, and that is a new feature at some release of Oracle, and you may develop in that release. But be aware, if you go live on the innovation release, basically the day you go live, you start testing for your next upgrade. So the innovation releases are really meant for new features, to test them, to give them to the developers. But for your production environment, you jump from long-term to long-term. And now let me map this to 12.2. And when I say Oracle 12.2, I mean 12.201, 18, and 19. This is what we called initially the 12.2 release family. And we don't call it release family even though any these days anymore. But still, in the old terminology, it would be 12.201, 12.202, and 12.203. That is nothing different than from the old releases, except for this jump in the name, going from a 5-number release to a 3-digit release like 18.30, 18.40, 19.40. For you, the important thing is 19C is the long-term support release, and we just extended the support by over 1 year. We added 13 months to the black bar. So now 19C is under premier support, regular support contract, no extra agreements, no extra cost, until end of April 2024. And this is the release you must upgrade to. No exception. No matter what you are telling me, this is the release you're upgrading to. And you can extend it with potentially 3 additional years of extended support. If you are on 12.201, there's an important addition at no extra cost. That is really important. Nothing to pay extra. We added a thing called limited error correction support. The black bar for 12.201 ends in November this year, end of November. And then we add these, I think it's 16 or 17 months of limited error correction support, which means critical fixes, severity 1, security fixes, and we release the release updates. And if you have a bundle patch, a merge patch on top of a release update, you get that in addition in the future as well at no extra cost. It's just because we puzzled a lot of customers with this change in the release numbering scheme. And so a lot of people are still live on 12.201 because they thought that is 12.2. This is the second release, and 18 sounded like a new release. Be aware, 18 has no extended support, period. It ends July, I think, next year. This is less than a year. I think 52 weeks, 51 weeks, something like that from now on. So be aware of that. Why do I speak only about 19C and not 20C? This is something you can find out in the release notes. So I copied this from the release notes, and you see in the headline, Oracle Database 20C is available only for preview. It's not available for production use, and upgrades to and from 20C are not supported. So it's clear, and I can just emphasize here, you go to 19C. No exception here. This is your release. Now, when we speak about 19C, the next question people immediately have is, do I have to go to multi-tenant? And I will explain this in the next minutes. So the goal for the next 40 minutes is, I would like to explain you how you can migrate to multi-tenant. After I explained if you have to go to multi-tenant, and I show you good techniques, I show you recommendations, I show you also fallback, and I would like to show you some nice things around multi-tenant you may not have seen yet. So this is the idea, and I will do a little bit of demo, and actually the 45 minutes are really constraining. I would have loved if I could tell like 2 hours on that. I have a lot of stuff to tell. I hope it fits here. So let's see. First of all, this sentence, this chapter paragraph was in the upgrade guide for a long, long time. The deprecation of the non-CDB architecture. We told you in 12C we deprecate it, meaning we don't develop it further. And in a release after 12.2, it will be desupported and unavailable. And again, this is important, 12.2 means the 12.2 family. So this includes 12.2.1, 18.19. So the thing here is that nothing changes with 19C. So all of you who just tuned into the seminar to learn how we force you to migrate to multi-tenant, you can now take a deep breath, relax. You don't have to in 19C. You should, but you don't have to. Because after 19C, and this is from the 20C upgrade guide, the 20C documentation is available in the web. And in the 20C upgrade guide, you'll find this, I put a red circle around it, multi-tenant upgrades only 20C, which means with 20C, only the CDB architecture, the multi-tenant architecture is supported, and you can't have non-CDBs anymore in 20C. That is not possible. This has an influence on the upgrade as well. I hope I don't forget this to cover it later on as well. So 19C, you are safe. With 20, life will change. And by the way, just to make it a little bit more attractive for you, with 19C and only from 19C on, not for 18, not for 12.2.1, you can have free user-created PDBs. Free user-created means the PDB $seed does not count here. It's your free PDBs as part of your license. And it doesn't matter if you have an enterprise edition or a standard edition license. So when you see the second column in this screenshot, headlined with SE2, 3 PDBs also in standard edition. This is cool. And now, how do you go there? Auto upgrade is the answer. If you are already on the same operating system, you create a CDB, and then you let auto upgrade your database, for instance, from 11.204 to 19.8, and auto upgrade will plug in your database and will convert it to a PDB. So I'm done now with my presentation. This was all I wanted to know. I would like to give you a bit more here, but it's as simple as I show it on that slide. So it's a one command orchestration. It's no rocket science. Everybody can do that. But there are a few things to take care on. That's why we are here. And before you really start, I just had a topic with a customer today who unfortunately had an auto upgrade from February. We fix so many things. So in an interval of 4 to 8 weeks, we release a new version of auto upgrade. So always download it from this My Oracle support note, because that version is newer than the one you have on this, guaranteed. When you scroll down to the end of the note, you find always the 2 previous versions as well, because we are not programming and development gods. Just in case we did something bad and that release hit an issue you didn't have before, the previous versions are there. And very important, at the end of this node, you will find a change log where we clearly describe the things we fixed in each release or when there are new features supported. So always grab the newest version here. The newest version is soon on My Oracle support. I think should be there next week, hopefully. Let's see. So when you have auto upgrade, what do? This is your databases, and you download auto upgrade. No DBA needed anymore. No license. It's just standard for everybody. You download auto upgrade. It's just 2 megabytes. Very small, tiny little tool. And the only thing you do is you prepare a config file. Auto upgrade gives you a sample config file, and you change a few things in that config file. Or you go to my blog and you just copy a config file for a start. And then you push the button and it upgrades. But it doesn't upgrade only to 19C. If your project is settled already and you want to upgrade to 12.201 or 18C, at least January 2019 bundle patches have to be there, then auto upgrade can do that. So it's not exclusively going to 19. You can also go to lower releases. And the minimum version we can upgrade on the source side, on the left side of the slide, is 11.204. And then it plugs in. The only thing you need to do is you need to prepare the CDB. Auto upgrade doesn't create that CDB for you. And you can monitor. There's a job console, or when you go to my blog, I show how you monitor with a Python server. You just start a Python web server, one call, and it monitors automatically. And we write a lot of log information. So it's completely transparent. It's no black box. And it really works. We have a lot of huge customers who use that now for over a year. And if you want to see that upgrade and plugin, there's a YouTube video. It's altogether 17 minutes, but with the contents underneath in the description of the video, you can just skip the presentation part and just go into the demo if you're interested only in a demo. And you find the slides on the blog, and also when you go on videos, you find our YouTube video channel. We are not as active as Jeff Smith and Connor McDonald are in publishing videos, but we do our best to at least have some explanatory videos here. And I would like to show you that, but before I show you this, I show you the parameters, because auto upgrade was there before, config file, standard set, and now for the migration to multi-tenant, we add these parameters. So you define the CDB you plug in afterwards, or not you, auto upgrade plugs in. This is CDB2 here, this is my SID. You have to create that. Auto upgrade doesn't create that CDB for you. Then if you want, you can rename your PDB, because your database may be called ORCL and you didn't like ORCL for many, many years. You say, now I take the chance and rename it. You can rename it afterwards. If you're interested how to do that, check out my blog. There's a blog post out there about how to rename a PDB, but you can do it auto upgrade. And if you would like to copy your files, then use this target PDB copy option. Because by default, we use no copy, which means the files stay in place. But if you do that, you need a good backup. I think it's better you let auto upgrade copy it to a new location, because then your source is upgraded but stays in place. I think this is more safer. But if you have like 120 terabyte database, as I had a customer discussion today, then you may better go with the backup and let auto upgrade not copy around your files. So a quick demo, 2 minutes, 45 seconds. Let's go. So in this demo here, I show you 2 databases. We have 2 databases, and this is the config file. And in this config file, I have pre-configured a lot of things already. I don't want to go through everything, but I would like to show you a few things. So basically, we start here. We have a global parameter section and DB12 FTX. First of all, the target CDB, and I give my PDB a new name. These are the parameters I showed you. And I want to copy it around. So I use the target PDB copy option. Default would be no copy. It's safer to use the copy option. If you question how to describe the complete parameter on the block, I have more. Let me check. Target CDB 19.7. Okay, this is created. I had to do that. Now I did my analyze already, and now I run auto upgrade with deploy. So auto upgrade will now do an analyze, a fix ups, and it will upgrade my database. So here it checks a few things, and I scroll fast forward 10 minutes later, 9 minutes later, and now we are already at 91%, and another 12 minutes later, both databases compile. So this was the fastest upgrade you have ever seen, right? Let me check again. For the DB12 database, the PDB conversion started now already. I repeat my lsj. lsj is list job command, and now both databases do the conversion. Now, as this has been run on a virtual box environment on a laptop, it takes really a bit because it does heavy recompilations. I would like to see more information. Status minus job 103, that's the DB12 database. So you see non-CDB to PDB stage, 2 minutes in progress. And we have specific log files for each stage. This is one of the best things of auto upgrade. We really log everything. No secrets here. Everything transparent. I repeat the lsj command a few times, and the clock is ticking on. Now let's check again. Again, the 103 job, that's the DB12 database. Now we are 7 minutes in progress. And it takes still a little bit. As I said, virtual box on a laptop, forced recompilations in there. This really causes CPU load. Now 103 is completed, and soon after the 102 will complete as well, and then both databases are plugged in. But never trust an Oracle demo. Let me connect to the database. Let us connect here to my CDB2 and really check if the databases are plugged in. So show PDBs. Hey, both are plugged in, both have a new name, read, write, done. Everything done by the tool. So this is where we want to go to. Now a secret. I named this presentation also secret because this is nothing you find in a docs or on my Oracle support. If you have an upgraded 19C database already, and you create a CDB with the same release, and make sure we come to options in a minute, you have the same options, then you can ask auto upgrade just to make the plugin, and it runs the compatibility check for you as well. So this is my config file, and the secret here is that I use source home and target home equal because it's the same home, and I specify target CDB marked in red here, and target PDB name. I could even copy it if I want to. I avoided this here, and then it does the plugin for me. So auto upgrade can also plug in a standalone database if you let it. That's pretty neat and helpful sometimes. So then let's discuss a little bit multi-tenant. And of course, I don't want to start at the very beginning because I assume you have heard a lot about multi-tenant already. So that is not necessary here. But one thing I want to explain again at first. You can have in 19C non-CDBs on the left side of the slide. In a middle pillar, a CDB with maximum 3 tenants, user-created PDBs, no extra license. This is available also for Standard Edition customers, not only for Enterprise Edition. And if you do that, do me a favor, do yourself a favor, always use then in your SP file the parameter max_PDBs3. Because if you avoid that, it's so simple to clone a PDB locally. And accidentally you have a fourth one, and then DBA feature user statistics, the multi-tenant counter goes up. So max PDBs 3, and then you are safe. On the right side, multi-tenant requires a license, an extra license, as you know, the multi-tenant license only with Enterprise Edition, and then you can have up to 252 PDBs, or in a Exadata environment or XRCC environment, up to 4,000, and don't do that. The customers I work with typically restrict the number of PDBs to 150 on test and dev. And some go up to 100 on production, others say 50 is okay. But I've never seen a live customer yet with more than 150 PDBs consolidated together. And I don't see that big thing or the big reason for that. But if you need to, you can do that. Now, when you have PDBs, there's always a struggle. How do I connect to my PDB? So we at Oracle, we are pretty, I would say, a little bit arrogant. We say, you should have used service names forever, right? So when you say SQL plus / sysdba, then you connect to the CDB $root, to the black brick, to the admin layer. And when you say SQL plus and then in colons, sys, Oracle at service name PDB1 as sysdba, you connect to your PDB, and your applications should connect also the same way into the pluggable databases. The second option is the Easy Connect, and the Easy Connect is so easy that I never remember it. You can read it by yourself if you want to. Works the same way. There's also a hack with the toTask variable, and don't do that. I had so many bad memories with toTask, and I completely disrecommend using toTask. The best thing actually would be dealing with a key store. That would be a good idea. Tim Hall has some cool examples on that. And if you want to switch between containers, now you're connected, you say alter session set container PDB1 or alter session set container CDB $root. Okay, so you can go back and forth. Yeah, but still you need that password. And there's something which came in with 18.5. I'm not even sure if it's in the documentation yet, but my reading is this came in for eBusiness Suite. So there's a new environment variable, Oracle PDB SID. And this should allow you to connect directly into the PDB without specifying username and password. So let's see. Quick demo. I show you. So I say export Oracle _ PDB SID equals PDB FTX. That's the one I created before. SQL plus / as sysdba. And let's see where I am. Show con name. Yeah, I'm in FTX with / as sysdba. That's cool. At first sight, absolutely. Very helpful. If you examine it a bit more, there's a little bit danger involved. And I would like to show you that as well. So I call this the danger zone slide. What they are doing in the background is, or what we are doing in the background is, that's a simple trigger. And this simple trigger has absolutely no error handling. So in case of failure, you don't see an error. In case of failure, you'll be put into the CDB $root with no feedback. And by the way, this does not work on Windows. I've heard bugs for both things, no error handling, and does not work on Windows. You find it on a blog. And I would like to show you the danger here also in a quick demo. So the danger zone demo here. So export Oracle SID, my CDB2, export Oracle PDB SID, PDB1. Let's connect. SQL plus / sysdba, and now ask yourself, in which container am I connected? Let's check. Show con name. Oops. That's the CDB $root. Why? In my database, there is no PDB1. So a simple typo can bring you to the position that you think you are in a PDB and you aren't. So this is why I consider this really, really dangerous. And as it's not easy and not simple to give a prompt in which PDB you are, I would wish the trigger would give a better feedback here. So the trigger is dbms set PDB, and if it fails to execute what you want, then it standard connects you to the CDB $root. And it happened to me in my demos already that I almost did something completely wrong because I thought I'm in my PDB and I wasn't. So be aware of that, please. Another thing with multi-tenant, especially when you want to plug in a non-CDB into a CDB, as I explained before. Now you want auto upgrade, do that, but you need a CDB. And when you do this, always do advanced configuration and create a custom database. This unfortunately takes us twice as long as creating a non-custom database because the multi-tenant stuff, the PDB $seed especially, is so badly sized that it constantly extends the files when you create one. But hey, that's life. Ideally, you create a template. But in a custom option, you have the choice which components you would like to configure. And when you use advanced configuration and custom database, you see the screen here. So what happens in that screen? We create Java, JVM, text, multimedia, OLAP, spatial, and Apex. What does the column include in PDBs mean? That means it's in your PDB $seed. Or in my case, it isn't. So in my case here, I would get a PDB $seed only with the Oracle Server and XDB components. So whenever I create a new PDB, it will only have Oracle Server and XDB, but it won't have Java text. The advantage of that solution is if I have no non-CDB, I upgrade it and I plug it in. I match the components because it matters if the components exist in CDB $root. So this makes my plugin easier, I would say. But be aware, if you want JVM, for instance, in your PDBs as well, you have to make a click here, and then it will be in the PDB $seed as well, and in all future PDBs. But be very aware with one thing. Apex. I love Apex. I use it by myself, but Apex should never be in the CDB $root. Apex is only in the PDB $seed, and you can click here, including PDBs, and click it away included in the CDB $root, and then you get it in fresh PDBs, but never in the root, because you get a lot of trouble then when you unplug and plug and the Apex versions don't match anymore. That makes your life horribly complicated. So be aware of that. If you want to remove components, I typically recommend to remove that before upgrade. That also makes things easier and makes the upgrade run faster, because the main differentiator for the upgrade duration is still how many components you have in a dictionary and in a database. Components scripts in longer upgrade runtime. And on the blog, you find a lot of blog posts about how to remove or recreate components. Now, another thing which is not so well documented, I think, is the _ Oracle script variable. So it's an init_ora parameter, and it's used widely in the scripts in the RDBMS admin directory because it indicates Oracle is doing something, not you, we. And this parameter allows us also to make changes to the PDB $seed. Now, I had customers who said, oh, Mike, no problem. We have used this parameter everywhere now in our scripts because then everything works. Don't do that. If you do this, simple example here on my slide, alter session set _ Oracle script true. Create a table Hugo test01, and now I check in the dictionary how this table has been created. So you see object name test01, it's a table, and it has the Oracle maintained flag. Oh, that shouldn't happen. Because with the next upgrade, certain actions in the upgrade happen only to Oracle maintained objects. But now you marked your object Oracle maintained. This will give you trouble for sure. So be very aware that you change here something in the dictionary. There are situations where you need the Oracle script. For instance, if you want to change the password aging algorithm in the PDB $seed, then you need to use Oracle script to open the seed in read-write, change it, and then bring it back in read-only mode. So it is necessary, and I show you, I have a Moss note here in that slide where it is recommended, where you need to use it, but please not for your own scripts. That will give you trouble. Yeah, when you create a PDB, that is, most of you have done that already. You say create pluggable database, admin user, identified by, blah, blah, blah. You can delete that admin user later on. SAP does that, for instance. If you're in the cloud, you will see that admin user has been widely used, but in your environment, you can remove it. The good thing is, once you provision it, it is ready to be used within seconds. No scripts need to be run. But I would like to give you here a tip, because you may wonder about my very short file name convert parameter. If the path patterns are identical, you can just leave them away. So instead of /data /cdb1 /blah blah, you can shorten this if the parts of both convert parts of the parameter are identical. That makes things way shorter, much easier. If you clone a PDB, as I said before, never forget, if you use the standard license set and you have 3 user-created PDBs, set max PDBs equals 3, because what's on the left side or the right side, that is so quickly done by somebody. Create a PDB, PDB2 from PDB1, file name convert, and you can do parallel 8. If you have big ones, in VDollar session long ops with these strange blah 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 things on the slide here, you can monitor what the operation is doing and how much it has been progressed. Or if you would like to go remotely, you go on a database link. So you have a DB link between CDB2 to CDB1, and then you go over this database link. This brings me to the next thing, and migration to multi-tenant, but also fallback. And this is something we need to discuss, because this is very important. So first of all, a high-level overview. We have 2 approaches. If we are on the same platform already, or same platform family, we can upgrade to the matching version, like 19.8.0, and then plug in and run a sanity script. We could also plug in first and then run a sanity script and upgrade, but I recommend always upgrading first. This will change with 20C, because with 20C we can't upgrade first, because then we would have a non-CDB in 20C, which is not possible. So we need to plug in, then upgrade, then run the convert script. But it's always this go to the same version. Or we could migrate directly with data pump, with transportable table spaces, or full transportable export import. And this way we avoid an upgrade, because we go directly into that version. But be aware, every approach requires unpredictable, often significant downtime, especially if your dictionary is big and complex. You can reduce that with Golden Gate. And the proven fallback strategies don't work. Guaranteed restore point doesn't help us if we plug in. So downgrade doesn't help us if we plug in. This is a migration. We can do export import with data pump as a fallback, and we can use Golden Gate on top. So be aware, test this carefully. And on the blog, there's a long blog post series I wrote a year ago, the migration from non-CDB to PDB. There's an overview blog post giving all the different side aspects, plug in first, upgrade first, the non-$CDB link migration technique, and then all the potential pitfalls as well. But let's start with migrate. So I have, you see, on purpose, in 11.203 database. Hopefully you don't have any anymore. But if you have an 11.203 database, you create, or could be also 10.205, by the way, doesn't matter. Could be also 12.201, doesn't matter here. You create a PDB first, and then you migrate directly into. So we don't do a regular upgrade, we migrate, and the upgrade happens implicitly. And we can do this with data pump, with transportable table spaces, with full transportable export import. That's why I put 11.203 here, because this is the minimum version for full transportable export import. By far the most simple approach, by the way, also if you migrate into a PDB in the cloud, is first you create the green one, the new PDB, then you export, dump file, you copy your dump file, you import. That's very simple, very straightforward. And the fallback would be same simplicity. You export from the green one, and here it is important that you say versions equal your source you'd like to import. So in my example, 11.204, Then the export will be created in 11.2.4 format, and then we can import into the source. Okay. The same thing, by the way, only moving up, not moving backwards, would work with a database link. Then for the upgrade, as I explained before, upgrade first. I think this is way more safe because for that upgrade, we have a proven fallback. We have a guaranteed restore point. Auto upgrade by default sets a GRP. We can always fall back if something goes wrong. Then plug in. Again, you need to create a black CDB here and then convert, and auto upgrade does that all for you. If we want to fall back, now we are in 19.8 in a PDB. We can't unplug and reconvert, or we can't unplug and downgrade and reconvert. So what can we do here? We can export import. We could use Golden Gate. So for the first step, upgrade on the left side of the slide, upgrade to 19.8. We can use a flashback to GRP. It's a standard with auto upgrade. But as soon as we migrate it into multi-tenant, the way back is a bit harder. And that's what I meant before by saying the traditional fallback strategies don't work here anymore. So when we want to upgrade, we go, this is my recommendation, to the same version. So I go to, let's say, 19.8. Then I start my database in read-only mode. This is my non-CDB. And I create this XML manifest file, dbms PDB describe. Make it in read-only. Even though it works in read-write, it gives you a lot of trouble with the file headers. So read-only, then shut down the non-CDB, connect to the CDB1, and plug it in. Create plugable database using that XML file. No copy is the default. I recommend to copy unless you need you have a good backup. And I think in 12.2 or 18, you don't need a temp file reuse clause anymore. And then run that sanity script, because plugging in goes very fast, but sanity script means it needs to be converted. And by the way, as I said, this is all done with auto upgrade. One pass, one command. You don't care. This non-CDB to PDB, that is a crucial point here because it's irreversible. There's no PDB to non-CDB script available. It runs only once in the life of a database when you make it convert a non-CDB to a PDB. Since 12.2, you can rerun it if it failed. In 12.1, it was game over. But the runtime depends a lot. Especially EBS databases are a real challenge because EBS 19c requires that you migrate to PDB. There's no other architecture supported with EBS 19c already. And we have seen runtimes of 3 to 4 hours already for the non-CDB to PDB script. That is because a lot of objects need to be recompiled, and an EBS database, I can't think of databases with bigger dictionaries. There's a one-off patch, and this may decrease the downtime significantly for non-Oracle owned objects, and hopefully it is included in the 19.9 ORU in October, but I'm not sure yet. Please check with Oracle support if you need that. What's one thing I skipped here? What auto upgrade, by the way, does, but I skipped that in my slide before. I didn't do a compatibility check. And the reason why I didn't do is because most of the time compatibility tells me, no, it's not compatible. But still, you should do it. Because when you do the compatibility check here, even though it says no in many cases, it populates your best friend, your new best friend you didn't know yet, but you will know. It's called PDB plugin violations, the view which does not follow any Oracle naming conventions and which accumulates a lot of nonsense data over time. That is really sad. There's since 18c a purge, but the purges only resolved things and no errors and no warnings. And you get something which here in my case may be misleading or not. Here it is not misleading. I miss options in the CDB, so I need to solve that before. In this case, auto upgrade wouldn't go further. But you find also things like SGA target was 1 GB, SGA target in the CDB is 8 GB. And you say, why is this a warning? Why should I care? And it stays forever in PDB plugin violations, unfortunately. That's why I call it a little bit ironically, your best friend. And there are other pitfalls. So component mismatches are the most happening pitfalls, but you find also time zone problems, patch level pitfalls, other typical plugin issues on the blog. Again, you find blog posts about all the migration techniques and the typical pitfalls. So be prepared. It's a longer read. You will sit down, I would say, 1.5 to 2 hours to read through all that. But the idea is really to help you to avoid any pitfalls when you plug in. Another nice technique I like a lot when you are plugged in and you are there and you are happy. And then you see one day that you can unplug into a PDB archive. By default, you would unplug and you create an XML file, and then you make sure all your files are together and you move them over with the XML file, and then you plug in. But you could also say all the pluggable databases PDB1 unplug into .pdb. And this creates a zip file. Even though it's not named zip, it has the ending PDB, but you can unzip it. And you see in that zip file, there's also the pdb1.xml, so it will be created automatically. Makes your life also easier. Just if this is your strategy, before you drop your CDB, make sure you can plug in again or try this with a test. In 12.201, there were issues that you couldn't plug in afterwards. And I saw also one on Windows in 18, I think, where you couldn't plug in afterwards, which is really sad because then you have an unplugged PDB and it doesn't plug in anymore, except for in the source again. So be aware, cool feature, but test it before. And also something very cool and often overseen is the safe state. In a cluster environment, you don't need that, but it's nothing more annoying than starting a CDB and have to start some of the PDBs manually. So when a PDB is started and you wanted to have it always started and say safe state or discard state, if you want to delete it, just state, and then you start a CDB and it will start your PDB as well if you marked it here. Then with 12.1 already, we added an entire class, I think almost 1,000 new views in the database, all starting with CDB. And they have all one thing in common, and I marked it here in blue on the slide. They have, the CDB views have one column, it's con_ID, the container ID. And that container ID, if you have a non-CDB environment, is 0. But as soon as you have a multi-tenant environment, 1 means this object belongs to the read container, 2 means it belongs to the PDB$seed, and 3 to n means it belongs to that PDB. Very important, set _exclude seed CDB view false. Because if you don't do that, then it hides everything belonging to ConID 2, which can be really trouble causing, especially regarding patching. Because if you don't see that something is not really well done in the PDB$seed, you may provision new PDBs and you provision the same problem over and over and over again. That's why I always have _exclude CDB view false in all my environments. Another thing to take care on, let me just check my clock. Okay, I'm almost done. Silent compatible change. Be aware when you plug in from a lower version, it takes you compatible of the higher version the second you plugged in, and this can be a problem. So my tips are, keep compatible in 19C, 1900, always 3 numbers, never 4, never 5. Keep it equal across all your CDBs and never change it for a patch bundle. So in 19C, it will stay 1900 forever. And fallback, again, none of the traditional methods work. Data pump, export, import, golden gate. These are your ways back. And the multi-tenant team proposes this is a fallback, and I know this looks hell of complicated, but the essence of that slide is that all my CDBs have compatible 12.1.0. So I'm upgrading a 12.1, I'm plugging it in, And they say if you need now a fallback, then you can, on the right lower corner, we are now in 1980, fully plugged in, but with compatible 12.1.0. And now we could go back into a CDB of Oracle 12.1.0 and can do a downgrade like we do with the traditional downgrade scripts. So we'd be back in 12.1. This requires that all compatible settings are 12.1.0. No local undo will work in this place. And I think, no, not really. But it could be an alternative. So keep that in mind. So summary here, every migration is an architectural change. Every migration requires downtime. Incremental backups can reduce it to lower, and Golden Gate also can decrease the downtime. And as a final goodie at the end of my presentation, I would like to show you one of the most underestimated, coolest features in Multitenant. It's the refreshable PDBs. I do upgrades and I love to use that. I have a 12.201 CDB here with a PDB, and I create a 19.0. Now I clone my PDB and I make it a refreshable clone, either automatically or better manual here. This may take 8 hours because it's huge, but then I make a refresh and the refresh takes only 5 minutes. It's still a 12.201 PDB. I refresh it again. And the cool thing is now I can upgrade it. And I upgrade it to 19.8, and I can also go back if I need to. But you decide the refresh interval, and if that is a really big PDB, you don't have to wait until you start testing. And it's so useful also for developers to give them refreshable PDBs. You can do a lot of great stuff. I think it's the most underestimated features in Multitenant. I think it's super powerful, and you have that blog post here because you determine the sync point. That is the important thing. And finally here, this guy, I have to quote him, Alain Fourer, the head of database services at Mobiliar Insurance. They recently migrated 735 PDBs to 19C with auto upgrade, and it was very relaxed. Just sit there, kick off the tool, sometimes monitor it, and sitting in front of the screen the whole time is not necessary. So Mobi migrated 735 PDBs on a nightly action on a weekend. So finally, if you think, oh, this was too fast, or I need more, I have a 2-hour seminar on demand, no registration needed, on the upgrade blog. Just go for videos 2020 or go to the videos link. They are linked on the videos link as well on the blog. The fourth one is migration to multi-tenant, but first one is release patching strategy, auto upgrade, and so on. Now, while I let this on the screen, let me see what's all in the Q&A for the final minutes. And when I say, I start with the first one, when we say 19C, is it 19.000? No, I always apply the newest. So I always, in my case, it's 19.8.0, always the newest. How can I know I can use auto upgrade? 11.203, no. So 11.203 does not have a direct upgrade path to 19C. What you do is you either use data pump, you use transportable table spaces, full transportable export import, or you do a double hop upgrade, meaning you upgrade 11.203 to 11.204, and then you kick off auto upgrade. So it's a two-phase operation. Can the auto upgrade tool migrate from RUC to RUC? Yes, it can. Since early April, we fully support RUC upgrades. As long as your SP file is an ASM, that works flawless. In the newest version coming in a few weeks, we have even more support, but RUC is fully supported. The only thing we don't test it yet is RUC and plugin at the same time. So we said, hey, we don't support this. It works mostly, but we didn't test both combined together. But RUC is fully supported. Upgrading from 11.204 on Windows to Red Hat. Can I minimize the downtime? Yes, you can. The cool thing with Windows to Linux is that you can create a standby, and with the standby from Windows to Linux, you can minimize the downtime significantly. So that works for since 11.107 actually. So, oh, please don't do multiple things. Mike, I'm upgrading, can I minimize? Okay, I answered this one here. Pablo, it is possible to migrate using auto upgrade in 11.204 on file system to ASM. Yes, you can. With the PDB naming convert parameter, you can move it into ASM directly. That works. On my blog, I have examples for that. So